Hey, welcome to Founders Field Notes, the podcast where you can learn from founders on how to be a founder. I'm Jason Klug, founder and CEO of Klugonyx Group, and also serial entrepreneur. So this week we have our friend Sofia Opmanis from Moss Fawn, founded it early 2018. It's a great story because we've been friends for a long time. So I've been watching her since she started and collaborating with her, and I'm just very impressed with where she's come as a founder. Some of the products that she's launched, she started with the Forage Feeder and has added many other products that are complementary to that original product, like the ice tray, the tethers, bibs, so on and so forth. So a lot of great products and a lot of success. And it's interesting to listen to the story about how she had many ideas and narrowed in on a product to focus on and finally launch a brand, which is her dream for a long time.
So, like, the part of my journey that I wanted to start with in regards to Moss Fawn is how I got started. So I was doing Salesforce consulting, but like I was working with sales. So I was having to go and meet clients and I was going to networking events. And one of the ones I went to was this kind of little entrepreneur pitch meetup in Salt Lake City.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I met you. And so I remember going into it. And I've been doing this for like a few months now. And it's always kind of the same routine. And you just stood out because you kind of looked just like you do right now. You have the hat backwards and everyone's like super professional and they're trying to pitch their businesses and trying to get investors
It's boring.
Yeah. And then and everyone knew you too. So I walk into this event and everyone is just gravitating towards you. Like, oh, Jason Klug, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, well, I need to meet this guy. So I walk over.
Me.
Huh?
You're flattering me right
Well, this is what happened. Because
Wow.
I think this has an important part to the end of the story, which isn't flattering. So I'll get to that.
I guess that happens because the same people would go to those same events over and over again.
Well, not necessarily because it was always a different group like pitching.
Kind of.
But
it's like
the
the same
investors
10
were the
people.
same. Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Well, anyways, I didn't know that.
I know, but
because I was new.
I did.
And so
it was boring.
I walk in, I'm the new girl, and I see everyone's like, oh, what's up, Jason? And you're like, hey, and super charismatic. And so I'm like, hey, I'm Sofia.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm doing. You're like, oh, yeah, cool. Like, I can, introduce you to some people or whatever. So you kind of like took me under your wing, and then I kept going to these meetups. They're like my favorite. And eventually I became friends with you. And I obviously like fit in with you and your friends at these events versus all the other people who were attending. So
yeah, the fractional CFO consultants and the marketing consultants.
And like
They're
the bookkeepers,
bookkeepers.
Everyone's there to try and get business, which is what I was there for too, right? We're hanging out at these events, and you
had a lot of ideas.
So I've
didn't know
always
what idea was the idea.
Yeah, I think growing up, my mom would always joke and say, have you guys thought of any ideas that's gonna, like make us rich? Like any inventions, she would always just kind of put that in my head. But I think as a kid, I was like really creative and wanted to think of something so badly to like get us out of our situation. I was like, oh, if I could just think of $1 million idea, like that would be so fun. So I've always I was always kind of led to believe that to be successful, you had to like start your own business. And so I always wanted that. And I really wasn't a great employee ever at any job I'd ever had. I'm super ADD. I love traveling, so I would take too much time off work all the time. And so I just knew
you worked at United for a while.
Yeah.
How long?
10 years.
Well, because you got the benefits.
Exactly.
The benefits kept you there.
Yeah, so...
Like, where are you? Oh, I'm in Bali.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I'm going to Hawaii.
Yeah. And I only flew first class, so I would just go to the airport, not knowing where I was going. All I cared about was making sure I got first class. 52 countries later,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I love traveling, so working a 9 to 5 and having to stay put was not an option for me.
Yeah, I guess the consulting gig was flexible.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I'm going to these meetups, and the more I go to these events, I'm meeting more and more business owners, and the more I'm able to relate to them, and you being one of them. Wow, Jason's just like me, and look how successful he is. If he can do it, why can't I do it?
ADHD
and just
distracted.
Young. I think like young and fun, like because I'm
Sure.
so fun. And
Sure.
so I just felt like I related. You were super nice. You're like, let's sit down and like come up with an idea, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Design is the most important part. You know, I'm learning these things from you, but I'm never...
Do we talk about brand?
I don't think we talked about branding. It was more about the design and being super unique.
What year was this? I'm trying to think.
2017.
17, 18. When did you start Moss Fawn?
18. So we met in 2016 or 17.
So right as I was starting Dry too.
I don't know.
Yeah, I started Dry in 2018.
Oh.
I think we did it similar timing.
Okay. Well, you already had a Klugonyx.
Yeah, I had that since like 2014.
Yeah. So you had a Klugonyx, and that is your design firm, right? So that's what we were meeting up about. And after however long you and I were friends for, one day I was like super excited, like, oh my gosh, how about this idea? And you looked at me and you said, you're like, you're just a wantrepreneur. And I was like...
You had too many ideas.
Yeah, and I never, and I would never like pull the trigger on any of them, right? Because I was so...
You have a lot of good ideas. It's not that you didn't have good ideas. You just didn't take the next step.
Yeah.
Until the Forage Feeder.
Yeah.
Right?
And so then the day that you called me that entrepreneur, I was like, oh my gosh, Jason is right. Like, I'm just like all these other people who keep going to these meetups, wanting to do something, and then they don't know. I like never went to a meetup ever again, and I sat down and I was like, I am going to start something. And so I was thinking of just anything, anywhere. And then this came into play when one of my best friends had a baby.
Okay.
She was visiting from out of the country.
Yeah, from where?
Australia.
Cool.
So she moved to Australia, and she was coming home back to Utah to visit her family, and she wants to go out and see her friends, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I'll babysit for you. You can go out tonight and go see everyone.
So good observational research.
And she comes over with like two huge bags.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, there's that much product.
Yeah. That's why I like baby products so much.
I couldn't believe it.
You only use like maybe a quarter of what you get.
And you want
what I'm learning.
Yeah. And you want like what's the best for your child, and you're gonna get what's the best. Yeah. And that's like all really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like babysitting, and I'm just like rifling through this bag, and I feel like one thing I learned about starting a business is if you can find a problem, or if you can find a solution to a problem, you have a business, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm going through everything, and I'm like, how can I make one of these products better than it already is? And so I had another idea first, which was a bottle. So at the time, there was a collapsible water bottle that was like on the market that just hit the market. It was really popular.
Yep.
And so I was like, why doesn't that exist for
I think it
baby
does
bottles?
exist now.
Now maybe. And so I was like, because they drink so many bottles.
Totally.
That they're just taking up space. So they should collapse afterwards.
On the go. You find something like this.
Well,
was it the one with the mesh?
Exactly.
Okay, so that made sense to me because the like now having a baby, I wouldn't want them sticking fabric in their freaking mouth.
There are so many things that are wrong with that design.
Yeah. That
I was like, I just hit the jackpot. So the first one is your baby. What is his hand-eye mouth coordinations like?
Well, right now he's too young to.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. He's like starting to see his hands.
But none, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so but he's using a pacifier, right?
Yes.
So
but that thing falls out and
he can't put it back in his mouth.
No, he doesn't even know what happened. He just starts crying.
Since the day that they're born, they're using pacifiers.
Totally. Yep.
So the design of mine has the silicone top. So once you give it to your baby, they know what it is like immediately.
Yeah.
The mesh one would sag, like it doesn't retain its shape. So you put a banana in it, and it's like gonna hang off the side. Yeah,
that's the thing.
That was the second thing, was the cleaning. Like, And the third thing was because you can't clean it, everyone was throwing it away.
Yeah. The whole thing or just
my
the
little
net?
hippie heart, like, could not handle that. There's already, as I mentioned, so many products
Yeah.
that people don't use, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just get thrown away.
Yeah.
They outgrow everything because they're growing so fast.
Yeah.
So you get all this 1 month clothes and it has tags on it and you don't even get around to using it.
Right.
So the number one thing that I wanted if I was going to start a business was I really wanted to be cautious of my environmental impact. I didn't want
have a plastic bag.
Yes, to stay clean.
I'm just kidding.
Aren't you worried about cleanliness?
I'm kidding. Okay, so then the first idea was the Forage Feeder.
Yeah.
So it's basically that same thing, but with a silicone mouthpiece.
Yeah. And things
that has holes perforated in it so the baby can chew on the silicone part and then the frozen food or whatever comes through the holes.
Yeah.
It's cute. It's got little ears on it. So where did you find this? Like, what was the next step after you had the idea? Did you search around to find this already in existence and you sourced it? Did you create it?
I had to create it.
How?
Well, I wanted to go back to the design because that was something that was pushed on me by you.
Yeah.
Before I started Moss and Fawn. And so I knew that the design of it was going to be super important. And so even the handle, the clasp, the top, like offering 3 different sizes because I wanted it to grow with your baby.
Okay. Yeah.
And not just thrown away after the first use.
Yeah.
Was really important.
Mm-hmm. You got the 3 different nipple sizes.
Yeah. I did have flight benefits, right?
Yep.
So I went to China.
That's right. I remember that.
So I had no idea what I was doing.
That was your first time in mainland China.
It was not good.
Yeah. Well, you'd been to Hong Kong, which is totally different. Right?
Yeah,
then you cross the border and you're like, oh yeah, this is different.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been all over the world, and I grew up in Argentina, so it's not that I haven't ever seen
what the world could be like.
What the world is like, yeah. But it was very, very, very different. It was something so different I'd ever seen before. But yeah, so I met with manufacturers there, and you kind of explained what that was going to be like. They take you out to lunch, they give you a factory tour.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing I wanted to get out of that was to make sure that it was fair, like, working conditions.
Totally. That's like the most important thing I always look for.
Yeah. 2019, I go back to China.
Okay.
I had 2 trips to China. But
so the first trip you found a factory.
Yeah, and then we sat down.
Development. Okay.
And I had a credit card with a $7,000 limit on it.
Yeah.
I'm still working for United Airlines.
Yep.
I'm no longer working for the consulting firm.
Yeah. Thankfully, you had a good home arrangement with your apartment.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
You had a good deal there.
I had super cheap rent. I'm just a hustler. Like, I would Airbnb my guest bedroom.
Yep.
Which sucked, like having strangers in your home. It's not like I had a separate apartment.
You paid your rent.
I would get my rent paid.
Yeah.
I would get everything. So I'd always find a way to make $1. So, and I luckily already, I was making $800 a month at United, so I knew how to budget.
Yeah.
I didn't have any money to spend to begin with. And so I have this credit card and I'm talking to the factory and they have those minimum orders, right? Because it's custom, it's not something that they're already offering. So I have to order a minimum quantity with them.
Make a tool.
Yeah. So I literally spent it was like exactly $7,000.
Yeah.
For my first order. I only had 2 colors, which was...
I don't know if I have any.
You do, actually, this gray one. Okay. So one of the first ones was the dew, and then the second one was the foliage. Looking at trends in 2018, everyone either had gray flooring, gray curtains, like a cool design. Yeah. Or they were into this like warm design, which is the browns and the beige. And so that's why I decided on those 2 colors. Spending hours on Instagram, and I decided I'm going to do these 2 colors. It just felt safe to me. I really wanted to create a high-end brand. I wanted it to look nice. And I wrote a business plan, which I have given that as advice to other people who want to start a business. I'm like, it really helped me because you have to, those templates you can get for business plans,
Totally.
and you have to fill it out, right?
It just forces you to think through everything. Yeah, even though you might not look at it ever again.
Yeah.
And I've written like 2 business plans, and it's funny to like look back at them because there's still like a lot of things that even 8 years ago I still, follow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it helps. Organize your thoughts.
Yes.
Which is good when you're ADHD.
And anytime I suggest that to people who started businesses or told them I've done that, they like laugh. They're like, "Oh, how like old school is that?" And I'm just like, "Oh, okay. I'm just don't know what I'm doing."
Day,
yeah. But in my business plan, one of the things is, where do you see your brand? Mm-hmm. And I really I focused on Nordstrom. And I wrote that down in my business plan. I said one day I want to see my brand in Nordstrom. And so
it's a great goal.
I was like, what would look nice? And so I came out with Moss and Fawn, and that's...
So where did Moss and Fawn come from?
So at the time, fawn was very, very trendy.
The word.
Yeah. But more than anything, like the actual animal, like a baby deer, right? So...
Yeah.
And
then you had the
little patterns for their beddings, like artwork for the walls.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to use fawn, and obviously fawn, everything was taken. So I was like thinking logically, I'm like, what is another 4-letter word that works with fawn? And I have this whole list of 4-letter words, and I stumble upon moss, and it turns out fawns eat moss. And I was like, jackpot, babies eating out of their feeders. Name. Moss and Fawn.
Yeah.
And I just thought it looked really cute. And
it does. I like the little...
I really wanted a really clean, simple logo that I could use on its own. So I designed that. And
so then what were some brands that you referenced that when you were designing it and coming up with it that, inspired it?
Honestly,
stylistically?
None.
So there's nothing that on Instagram, for example, a brand that you're like, okay, I like their style.
No.
So you just went straight off what you like.
Everything on Instagram at the time was just like so girly or kid-like, and I didn't want that. I wanted something, again, like super high-end. Modern. The fawn logo actually came from a horse logo that I'd seen. I was just Googling logos. Okay. I don't know what the brand was, but they had a similar like line art thing for a horse. And I just tweaked it and changed it to be a fawn.
Okay.
And then...
So product 1, the Forage Feeder.
Yes. And again, trying to really offset my footprint, I didn't want packaging.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember, I originally had cotton bags that they came in.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And so you couldn't even see what the product was.
Right. You were only direct to consumer.
I was, yeah.
So like at that point,
I have these Nordstrom dreams.
Right.
So
I mean, you started with that, which is good, and then eventually I remember when you came out with the packaging. So let's talk about the first order. So early 2019 when you placed your first order then?
Yes. Yeah. No. 18.
So you placed your order in 2018 and received it in 2018?
I designed my brand. I come up with the idea.
Yeah.
I design my logo.
Yeah.
I pick the dew and the foliage colors. I'd already visited the factory. I put in my first order with my credit card.
Yeah.
And I get my first order delivered to my house.
Yep.
And
it was fast.
I ordered those cotton bags separately.
Yeah.
And so then at home, I'm like putting everything in these bags. I order boxes. Luckily, I have another friend, Jason, who owns Smart Ship.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll gift you a printer, which those thermal printers are so expensive.
Yeah, like
$5 to thousands of dollars,
True.
right?
Yeah.
So he gifts me one, which I'm like, how lucky. So I have you as a mentor. I have my other friend, Jason, helping me get my home warehouse set up. I luckily already had experience, I guess, with like the website. So I figured out how to use Shopify. I designed my own website. I did all my own photography.
Really nice to work with.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially like first time building when it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes time to like figure it out, but definitely maneuverable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that. I did all my own photography.
And
then,
at the same time, you're already posting and building an Instagram following.
So what I did was a teaser account. Like I secured the handle, and then it just had my logo with like 6, if you can imagine, like those
I remember
like
that.
6 little squares, and it said Moss and Fawn, and in the title it said "Coming soon, looking for influencers." It's a new baby brand coming soon, looking for influencers.
Smart.
And people were so excited. I started getting tons of followers. They had no idea what it was. They didn't know if it was clothing, food, my product. Like I had no idea. It was literally just the logo.
How many followers did you get with that?
A few hundred. And then I started reaching
start.
out to the followers I had and said, hey, I'm ready to launch soon. Can I send you some product? And if you like it, post it, but like no obligations, you know?
Totally.
And so
it's a low enough cost item where that's totally worth the investment.
Yeah. And at the time,
how many did you set aside to do that with?
I honestly do not remember.
Like 100 or something?
No.
Not even?
Not even. Like 10.
So
20.
very, very low cost investment.
Yeah.
To reach a few thousand people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know to today how I succeeded. Like, so I send a few people. Yeah. And then they post me. And the next thing I know, I have 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
And my first month in business, I did $3,000 in sales.
That's a great start.
And how much was my investment?
Yeah.
What?
$7,000.
Yeah.
Other than I guess your trips were free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get the factories to put you up in a hotel?
No.
No? Should have.
I got a free meal though, hey.
Yeah, they usually put you up in a hotel. Okay, so that's a great organic, that's a good note, an organic way to build and launch a brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to do, but it's like if you can get interaction with people that have anywhere from like 1,000 to 5,000 followers, like the micro influencers, then they're very approachable and would appreciate free product versus the people that have 20, 30, 100,000 where they're going to ask for too much.
Well, the other crazy thing too, I think, was the timing. Like back in 2018, influencers were just starting to start charging. At the time, they were still just stoked to get free product. So I was really lucky with that too. And so in 2018, I started in November. So we're in November right now.
Black Friday.
Right after, yeah. Like
you started right after Black Friday?
But I didn't do a Black Friday.
Right.
So my first month in business in 2018 was just like my sales just of December. And so it's been 4 years.
Your items, though?
This month. Is it even today? I don't have my phone. So like 4 years ago, I started Moss and Fawn.
That's great.
Yeah.
So then what was when did you receive your order?
It was, months prior, but I was too scared to launch.
Okay.
I was like so insecure.
So
I was like, there's no way this is going to work. It was just sitting.
You're being an entrepreneur again?
I was being an entrepreneur, not doing anything.
Yeah.
I was ready to start my business in probably May of that year.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
What? Why?
I was just so scared. And I was like,
what were you afraid of?
That I just wasn't ready. I was like, I'm too scared to launch and then it fails. Like, I need to make sure that I'm really ready. And I just didn't until someone was like, just do it right now. And I did. It was super random. I was like on a road trip and I like just hit go live and I was so scared.
What did you hit go live to? Your website?
Like it was
then what
hidden like by a password until.
Would you go back and change that?
I still struggle with my anxiety today like being unsure of myself and like ordering enough product, right? This is an issue I still have today. Like I'm sold out all the time.
I know.
All the time.
I know.
And it's because I still am scared that my business is going to fail.
It's not. You're doing great. you need an operator.
So that, I don't know if I would like go back and change it. It's not something I think I'm just like, wow, I'm glad I was pushed to just go live that day.
Yeah, so you pushed the button live. When did your first sale come through?
I texted a bunch of friends, and I was like, okay, I did it. Like, go order. And more than anything, because I wanted them to test the website and make sure it was working.
See how the fulfillment
Give
works,
me some feedback. Yeah. And then I wrote the Instagram people, and I said, go ahead and post. I just went live with my website.
Okay.
And the sales started trickling in, and I was getting like 3 orders a day, 4.
So November you did 3K.
No, it was like December, yeah, because it was
Okay.
like the very last 2 days of November or something.
Yeah. So that's exciting.
And then 2019 was my first full year, and I didn't do any ad spend at all. Not a single
I remember that.
dollar.
But so you got your first order. How many units did you order?
I had to order 6,000.
So you ordered 6,000 units.
Correct.
How long did it take you to sell through those?
I don't know. It's been so long. I'd have to look.
Well, when do you think you made your next order?
I honestly don't
following
remember.
Summer, wasn't it?
I would say it was towards the end of. I'm pretty sure it actually took me a whole year to get rid of that inventory.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a good number of units. Like 6,000 units is a pretty decent amount.
Yeah, and I only had 2 products. So how funny is that? Like I start this brand that I only have 1 product and 2 variants.
Yeah, but that's normal, right? Usually that's the way to go.
I don't think so as much for a baby product. Like normally it's a whole line of products. There's other products or other brands that came out.
You have to go into it with, you know. But like if you're going the lean approach, it's not bad to start with 1 product.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Busy Baby. She started with, Beth had just the Busy Baby mat, and now she's got a whole slew of products, and she keeps adding more. But it's like, I mean, I think she just sold the Busy Baby mat for at least the first year.
Yeah, I guess I was comparing myself to other Instagram brands that were coming out at the time, and they were basically little baby shops. Like they had tons of products, and they were just starting. Yeah. And I was like the first brand that was making baby cut things cute. Like I was choosing these gender neutral on trend colors, and it was crazy to see that change like overnight. Like all of a sudden, a year later, everyone was doing it. Yeah, and I was just one of the first people to be on that. Yeah. And I've seen other brands that already existed then switch over to those colors. Like my colors everyone's using the colors that I've chosen now.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is it's like at the end of the day, the person you're targeting is the parent. Yeah. And it's like the parent's opinion on color and aesthetic has not always been, focused on in the toy and baby industry. It's always been like what the baby is going to like the most. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the parent has to stare at it and react to it. Yeah. So I think it's a good trend. And you were not still doing organic marketing, influencer-based marketing?
Yes. I did.
Till when?
So I did influencer-based marketing I'm still doing it today.
Of course.
Like I relied on that solely in 2019. I didn't have any money to do ad spend. So I'm like paying off this credit card. And luckily in my 3rd month in business.
And you're still working for United?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Side hustle?
Yeah. Big one.
Fulfilling out of your back room.
Really staying safe with that salary.
Was it still an Airbnb at the time, or was that your back room, your fulfillment center?
Had an office, and I had a warehouse in my house. So it was a 3-bedroom. So it was my bedroom, and then the warehouse and my office. And then eventually my garage, luckily I had one, turned into more storage, and it was like floor to ceiling in boxes. Yeah. But so 2019, 3rd month, and I paid off my credit card.
That's pretty good.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, $7K.
Amazing. Especially like I was making $800 a month at the time, and I was comfortable. Yeah. So to be making this kind of money, which was $3,000 a month, I was like, oh my goodness. I hit the freaking jackpot. Like, dinner's on me, guys. Drinks are on me. Like, I made it,
Where'd the money go? I remember when you had that conversation with me.
Where's my money?
Yeah. You're like, where'd my money go?
Where's all my money?
All this money's coming in, but it's gone.
Where is it? Yeah.
And it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, you're constantly spending money on making money. So I'm spending more money on packaging and shipping and buying printing labels and office supplies. Like I'm having to get a desk. I'm having to get shelving, storage. Like
were you doing
the more you grow, the more ways you find to spend money.
Were you doing paid content creation at the time, or were you still kind of doing that organically?
So still to today, I've never done paid influencer. Okay. So I really want organic content. Like I want people to talk about what they want, like what they like. I don't want to be paying someone because I've seen those ads on Instagram, and I myself skip through it. I'm like, I know this person is making money off of it and they're not, they're not genuinely obsessed with this product.
Like dry ads.
But more than anything, like I really wanted to pride myself in people actually genuinely love my product.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest reason I haven't, is I don't want anyone finding out I paid someone to post about me, because that's not the truth. The truth is that people get it in the mail, they get so excited, and it's a pain point too. Like your baby's teething, they're fussy, they're crying, and you're tired and you don't know how to make your baby feel better.
Yeah.
And they're pulling at their ears and they're just like, there's nothing you can do to comfort them. And so when you find something that works and your baby loves it and you see the relief, they're like, every mom needs to have this. Like, you don't want to be using Orajel. You don't want to be using those amber necklaces that are like a choking hazard. Mm-hmm. So then you finally find something that's like natural, right? You're using frozen breast milk. It's something that your baby already knows how to use, which is a pacifier. Mm-hmm. It's just a win-win. And so that's the content.
So when did you start doing paid ads? Was that 2019?
It was 2020. It was during the pandemic.
Really?
Yeah. So in 2019, so that New Year's, the 2020 New Year's,
right?
I needed a dress for my New Year's party I was going to. Oh. So I Google New Year's Eve dresses. Within an hour, I get hit with ads on my Instagram about dresses. And I was just like, what the heck?
Yeah, that's how they work.
I understand that. But this one company specifically, I got hit with their ads immediately.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to them. I said, hey, I'm a baby company, so I'm not a competitor. Mm-hmm. I have nothing to do with like clothing.
Yeah.
Could you please refer me to your marketing team, because their ads work. Like I got hit immediately. There's hundreds, maybe even thousands, hundreds of thousands of dress companies out there. Many. Yeah. What are the chances that their ad hit me that fast?
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I want them. And
Power of a pixel.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. And so she was like, oh my gosh, I have nothing but good things to say about them. I'll give you their info. So she like introduced us. And at first, I think I was spending, I don't know, like $500 or $1,000
a month.
Yeah, if that.
Oh wow, that's even like hard to capture data at that amount.
Yes, and they cost so much.
Agency wise.
Yeah, agency wise, every month was really expensive, and they're like, we promise, you'll make your money back.
It does take time to build. You have to be like, it takes like 3 months at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing so well. With my influencer marketing at $3,000 a month, like I don't need any of this.
But it's worth diversifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
because it starts to piggyback on your influencer marketing.
Yeah. And so I mean, it's not that I didn't understand that. It's just that I was just like, I can't comprehend spending that kind of money, because I've never been around that kind of money.
You built it in a very frugal fashion. And I feel like ad spend is always like the first like thing that is hard for a frugal founder to do.
So then now I'm starting to get ripped off. So as soon as I start pushing ads, I start having all of these people copying me, stealing my idea. I always looked at it that way.
Yeah. It's frustrating but flattering at the same time.
Totally. It's so frustrating, but at the same time, you're like, obviously I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
If they're wanting to come after me. And it's so bad that in the search engine on Amazon, if you type in Moss and Fawn, which I am not on Amazon.
You should be.
I know. But
this is literally the point I got to with the rye, where that's when we put it in and it immediately added to our sales and we didn't lose any website sales. But the reason why is because
I'm so conflicted on Amazon as a company. That's why I hear you. It's not about money for me. I'm still not money driven.
I hear you, but you're basically like losing, extra sales that are just
I got this beat into me by all of my business entrepreneur friends. Mm-hmm. I know this.
But you realize I held out. We held out for years with the rye, and then we got it on there, and
the only reason I am currently considering it is for brand protection.
Exactly. That's the reason why it's hurting you the most.
People are using my brand name to sell their crappy
because people go
products.
And see your ad, then they go on Amazon and they search Moss and Fawn.
Yes.
and that search volume is searchable by all the knockoffs.
Yes.
And then they know it's that term is being searched, and then they reuse it.
Yes.
But, if you're on there, they're going to buy the original over the knockoffs if you're there.
I don't want to spend money on ads, but I'll go and spend money to make sure my product is safe, because the last thing I ever want to happen is to have to harm a child.
Yeah.
But these other you don't have to have testing done to be on Amazon.
Totally.
You don't have to do anything. And so all of these companies are just riding my Moss and Fawn wave, but selling really poor quality products.
I think you should do it, and you will not regret it. It adds much more sales.
I will for brand protection.
Brand protection. Yeah. That's what you have to look at.
That's the only reason I'm going to do it, is
because people will search Moss and Fawn more and more and more. The more you grow your Shopify store, the more people are looking for you on Amazon.
Yeah. And
the more
I've become friends with another business owner in the baby sector who also was fighting it. Mm-hmm. But there's so many knockoffs of her brand that she had to. And she's the one who's told me, it's for brand protection. We get to control the market.
And plus, you don't have to do the fulfillment for it. You just ship your
that's not why I would
boxes.
Do it. For brand protection, I'll do it. But not
you ship your boxes, and then they take care of it.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. So that is on the horizon, but I'm so busy doing other things.
And I know. And then, you've got Nordstrom.
Yeah.
So you achieved your goal.
So I'm still a one-man band. I'm just...
You have warehouse helpers, right?
Well, when Nordstrom reached out, I didn't yet.
Yeah.
So I'm still doing everything by myself.
Well, you were doing e-commerce Nordstrom in 2021.
2021.
Yep.
Yeah. So they emailed me.
Yep.
So I'm just I wake up, drinking my coffee.
Very exciting.
I check my email, and I have an email from a Nordstrom buyer reaching out to me saying, "Hey, we love your products. Would you be interested in working with Nordstrom?" And I'm immediately turning around, what? Is anyone seeing this right now? This is amazing.
Very
and I
exciting.
Took a screenshot, posted it on my Instagram so all my friends and family can see. I was I am so over the moon right now. I was so excited. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, of course. I'd love to work with you. And then, I put in that was my very first, retail. I've been working with other boutiques all over the world. I sell a ton of product to Korea, France, Canada, the United States. But it was my first, big box.
Big box. Yeah.
And there's so much you have to learn there. So then that was so painful, learning what an EDI is, learning how to create a catalog, all of these things. It was so hard.
But now you're physically in stores.
I am in stores. I'm online.
How many stores?
So they do a tier thing. Mm-hmm. The saddest thing is we're in Salt Lake City, Utah, right?
Cool.
And I would think that that's a big baby market for them. But the Salt Lake Nordstrom is a tier 4. So it's they don't make very much
City
money.
Creek?
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's going to be a while till it hits here, which bums me out because I'm so excited. So I'm in all of the big Nordstrom, which is Dallas is their number 1. And then it would go to New York. So their biggest one is Hawaii, which is funny.
What?
Yeah. So Honolulu, Hawaii is one of their top stores because they get so many international tourists there, like Japan.
Oh, interesting.
And they love designer.
Yeah.
So they go to Nordstrom in Hawaii.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyways, it'll be a long time till we see it in stores in Salt Lake, which is a bummer because it's not a very important store for them.
Yeah.
But so that was really exciting.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy because that was literally the only name I put on my business plan back in 2018, being I want to be Nordstrom. I never actually believed it would happen, ever. I never really, really thought I would be in there. I thought I would be selling at boutiques around Salt Lake City for the rest of my life.
No.
I never thought it would be that big. And and on top of it, they reached out to me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to contact a buyer. I still don't know how to do that stuff.
That's great. Okay, so let's talk about where e-commerce is at now then. So you're spending $500 a month. Are you spending that daily now?
Probably, yeah.
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 And what are you doing about your stock house so you're not always stocked out? You don't really have an operations hire yet, do you?
No.
That will help with your stock outs.
Yeah. So
you need a director of ops that is watching your inventory and your cycles, your purchasing, your projecting.
Yes.
Because
I need
I have 40 units left. I better order.
I feel It's just being responsible for someone else's salary again. Like my freaking anxiety is through the roof.
Yeah.
And even my assistant, like she had another job and she quit to come work for me. And that was so stressful. I was like, no. Like,
but what has happened
working
since
for me
she's
is your
came
side
on?
hustle. Like stay with the salary job that you have. Like, I don't want you to take a risk on me.
Yeah, but then they become a bottleneck when you do need them.
Yeah. So she did quit her job and she works for me now full time.
And you need her.
And I need her, yeah. And I'm learning how to be a leader. That's something else that I never had to do before. So there's so many things with owning a business that you're always doing. And it's like, learning how to manage inventory, but I also need to learn how to manage my employees and how to communicate efficiently to them. And that's something that I really struggle with, even in friendships, is I'm just, people like love or hate that about me as a friend. So imagine being like my employee and I'm like, you know, like, your life is like your salary is dependent on my attitude, you know? And I have so many friends who are like, I love that you're so brutally honest. Like, I love that you're blunt. I love these qualities about you. And that's why you're a good friend to me. But those might not translate great as a leader, you know? And so I'm like reading tons of books right now and working with friends though. Yeah. So I don't. Like the people I know through people or know of, you know, like my assistant is someone I've been friends with, but it's not like we hang out ever. Right. Like acquaintances. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, so I knew about her and that made me feel good about hiring her because I was like, oh, I know that you're a kind person. I know that, and I needed someone for customer service, right? So I was like, oh, I think that she has all of the qualities that I need to run my Instagram and my customer service. And she does. She's so nice. Like the way she communicates to my customers. So you took the leap and it worked out. Yeah. And she took the leap too, right? She quit. So now operations wise. I can't like, I do everything I know. And so it's also so hard to hire someone because no one cares about your brand the way that you do. And I know you know that. You hire people and they'll never work as hard as you will work. Yeah, but because it's just their paycheck, where for you it's like, oh, it's a lot more. But that's like that right there, that mindset and mentality as a leader is a huge bottleneck for founders. It is. Yeah. And because, you know, I do so much already all the time and I'm so busy. So to stop, and even with my assistant, to stop and have to take time out of my day to train her puts me behind because that's so much work that I'm not doing because I'm spending so much time training her right now. And that's the other thing is like, how do I hire someone and tell them which hat to wear? Because I have so someone many. Better than you. Yeah, I would love to, but I feel like all the people who are those people are doing pretty good. They don't need me. But I mean, operations, you want them to check their ego at the door, right? Like, I wish I could hire you. No. No way. Like, I'm not an operations person. I'm surrounding myself with operations people. Yeah. Because I can't do operations. So because you need someone that's bringing you the numbers and all the data and information that gives you the ability to make better decisions. Yeah. And then also like inventory, like you can't do all the things you're doing and then properly track your inventory and projections. Yeah. You know? And the thing is, you'll hire an operations person that's working on all that stuff. Yeah. And then what will end up happening is because you're going to have less stockouts, you're going to be making more money. And then that will pay for them immediately. And I do have someone on my team right now who is amazing and is helping me with my confidence in that because, and helping me do projections and plan for inventory. But the biggest problem is that haven't been able prior to hiring this person who I've only been working with for like 2 months now. Wasn't able to comprehend how fast I was growing. Yeah, you're growing fast and you have a lot of profit. Yeah. And so you showed me your books. I was like, Sophia, whoa. Yeah. Whoa. It's really great. But so you're like flatline growth and you really could go up. Yeah, but so like I'm used to ordering X amount. Yeah. And so then in 3 months, I'm like, oh, I'll just go to order that amount again. And it's like, you don't sell that much in 3 months anymore. You sell that much in 1 month now. Exactly. That's the hardest thing. I mean, even and so then I'm constantly playing catch up because I have all of these orders that are still not big enough and they're still not big enough. Yeah. And so the person who I've been working with now, who is amazing. He was referred to me through another really successful baby brand. Her name is Summer with Baby Bling.
Okay.
She's been in business for 17 years.
Wow.
She's amazing. Like, she's who I want to be when I grow up.
That's great.
So
she's a great mentor.
Yeah.
Advisor. That's great.
I was telling her how, I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, earlier you mentioned, like, where'd my money go? Like, I don't know where my money goes. I just spend money on what I need to spend for my business. And I don't understand how my numbers are just so off. Right.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, you need to work with this guy. So she referred him, been working with him, and he's so great. And, he's like, he's definitely going to get my inventory situation under control finally. Yeah.
Versus short-term, like, reactionary decisions.
Yeah.
You need long-term.
And goals.
Yeah.
And,
ready, aim, fire.
And like, okay, like, this is how much you do need, but how about we order 30% more, because let's make it a goal to sell 30% more. Yeah. And so more than anything, it's nice to have someone managing my books and really explaining things to me. That makes sense. So today, currently, I'm working on being a better leader and creating better tools to help my employees succeed. Because if they're succeeding, I know, then I can start focusing on my stuff instead of constantly being like, hey, was this done? Was this done? Do you need help with that? So one of my other friends, his name is Parker. He owned his own business and he recommended a book that I just barely read last night. And it's so good.
What was it?
Just how to communicate to your...
What's the book?
I don't know. I think How to Use Words or something. I forgot what it's called.
How to Use Words?
Yeah. So I think it's called like...
How to Win Friends and Influence People or something?
No. It's this tiny little like manual. It's just this tiny book. It's really great. How to phrase things to get what you need out of someone. So... Sounds
very similar.
Yeah, I wish...
That's great.
I'd have to look it up.
Good.
But,
so you're really doing a lot of self-improvement. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. You feel good about that.
I do, yeah. A lot of self-improvement.
That's awesome. That's so good.
How I communicate with people, how I handle my stress and anxiety.
Which can be tough.
How I manage my time.
Craziness of a startup.
And I love Moss and Fawn. I love my brand. I love my job. I love it so much that I get consumed by it. Yeah. I can easily work 13, 18 hours a day on my brand because I just get so excited. Money, no.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. Still 100% owned by me, funded by me. Yeah. It is really nice to not have to deal with that because there's so much other stuff that I am still focusing on. That
you can grow organically.
Yeah.
Stay profitable.
But that is something I'm really interested in learning about. Yeah. When
the time comes, you'll have no problem because of the story you can tell about your founding and how you got to where you're at.
Yeah. Hopefully people will trust me with their money.
Yeah.
I understand that there's so much more potential for this brand.
Definitely.
Another thing that really holds me back too is that I don't like being a consumer myself, and I don't really want to create a brand that's just people are just buying stuff to just buy stuff. So every single thing that I do, I put a lot of thought into, like, how can this be used for at least a year?
Oh, yeah. At least a year.
Yeah. So like this, right, it has the 3 different sizes. So it's used for at least a year. My clips grow with your baby. The bib has adjustable snaps, but it also is versatile. So you can use it as a burp cloth when it's unfolded, a bib. And then I'm hoping that by the end of its lifetime, when your baby outgrows it, that you can still use it as like a rag or something. It's like still something that, and then also it's linen, so it's going to biodegrade. And my ice trays, once your baby isn't using them anymore, like it's still an ice tray. True. It's a really, really high quality
nice ice tray. Yeah. The metal ring and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so it's a metal rim that no one else is doing right now. Yeah. It's really sturdy. It's such a nice ice tray. Yeah. Designed by just the best designer out there.
Yeah, that's funny that I designed and engineered that.
It is.
That's like one of the last products I did that.
Yeah.
Now my team does it all. I don't get to do it anymore.
I knew I wanted the metal rim, and I told you the size, and I wanted them sideways, and you were like, no, let's do it this way. Yeah. So now it just looks like little cow udders.
They look like cow udders?
I think so. It's upside down.
Yeah. But they fit in the little.
They fit into all three of the sizes, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like fully like cylindrical, is that the word?
Yeah.
Instead of my idea was it would be like half a cube, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
Very high quality. Again, it'll be used forever. And so everyone's like, why don't you do this product? And I'm like, because so many other brands are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to just create more just to make more. Like I'm still, again, not money driven.
Mm-hmm.
I just really want a product that people will love and that they'll use for a long time. And I want, even my packaging. So my cousin, Lucy and Chris in Argentina, I was so lucky that they just happened to come visit me in the United States for 3 months. And they're so talented. So he helped me. I was like, this is how I want the box.
Really
this is how I want the graphics.
Yeah.
He hand drew the little hand, the baby holding the feeder.
Yeah.
Right next to me. It was just the best situation.
The little pear or whatever that is. What is that? A squash?
There's a squash. There's an avocado, strawberry. He drew all of those. But I really wanted paper packaging.
Yeah.
And as you know, when things come from overseas, they get smashed. We see videos all the time of even UPS and FedEx kicking boxes around.
Totally.
So when these come to me, they were smashed to smithereens.
Yeah, especially air freighting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to continue to change the box until I finally came up with these little tabs on the side so that it won't pop up and has less damage. But everyone's like, just do plastic, duh. And I'm like, no. I can't.
No,
plastic doesn't smash. Plastic doesn't.
You just throw it right in the freaking.
You throw it in your compost. Yeah. So it's recycled paper and printed with soy ink. So you can just put it in your compost.
Wow, soy ink, so fancy.
I know. And then, even we changed the design of the bottom of the box. It used to just have a tab that folded in, and it was constantly popping open, which then would collapse the box and it would get damaged. So tons of engineering with just the box alone. And it's because I refused to use plastic. I really wanted paper. And I continued that with all the other packaging, which...
And then but this also presents well on a shelf.
Yeah.
In Nordstrom.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, but...
They're reordering, right?
I guess they're on shelves, but... Yeah, they reorder with me.
That's so good. So you've hit a lot of goals.
Yeah.
So what's next? What are the next goals?
Well, right now, like I said, I'm working on being a better leader.
Yeah.
So then I can hire more people and make sure that we're all working really well together.
Yeah.
I'm working on my inventory right now is something I'm working on. And then, I have other products I want to launch. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. Well, you've had a lot of transitions this year.
Yeah. Moving into the warehouse and all of that. So, there's always so much to do. And that's what I love about my job is I just get so excited because I'm ADD. I'm not doing the same thing every day. Totally. Every day I'm learning something so different and so new.
There's a different fire to put out.
Learning about my finances, learning how to communicate with my employees, learning how to manage this warehouse.
Yeah.
How am I going to organize the warehouse?
Yeah.
How am I, what type of size boxes do I need to order, right? Because now I have more products, I need to adjust the box that it gets shipped out in, and fine tuning that so I don't have 50 different sizes. I only want to have 3 size options. So there's just always something that I get to work on, and I love it. Love it.
That's what drives people to be an entrepreneur is the excitement of all those things. I feel like. It's not just the money. It's you have to like that part of it.
And then there's always the reward at the end, right? Even fine tuning my packaging into getting it to 3 sizes. I'm whoa, it worked.
Yeah.
Every single order has fit into one of those 3 sizes.
Yeah.
Love it. Next challenge, figure it out. Reward. Next thing.
Yeah. So what are your main field note takeaways from this conversation?
So with the field notes, for your listeners, right, is to help them figure out what they need to fine tune for their business ideas.
Maybe. Think about when you were a new founder and you were handed a notebook that had notes that people wrote down that would help you be a founder, a better founder early on. What would you want that notebook to say for them? Maybe 3 takeaways.
Okay. So one of the keys to my success, I believe, is my branding. And so, like you've mentioned, when your clients come to you for design, right, they have
just product ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I had too. But how do you separate your product idea in this market, right?
Yeah.
And anytime anyone asks me what they should do to start their business, I always tell them to make sure they're focused on the branding, because even with us as consumers, right, like there's how many shoes out in the world? But you're going to trust that brand.
Yeah.
And so that was the one thing that I really focused on, was I wanted to build a really strong brand that people could trust. So,
and what does that entail? Because people a lot of times, like we talked about earlier, it's just a logo, right? That's what they think about, but it's more than that. It's like how you present yourself, the content you create, how you communicate to your customers, how you present your product, all that stuff, and how it's all tied together.
Yeah.
And the experience when you receive your package.
Yes, that was like a big one for me. Yeah.
You know, and then but also going back to like when you first capture their attention to when, they're looking on your website through your product, to hitting submit order, then receiving the package. And then after they've received the package, how they're interacted with as a customer after they've used your product.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole story and that whole process is part of the brand.
Yes.
And people don't get that.
Yeah. And it's probably I think the most important thing, because there's like jokes out there, right? You can sell a rock, like a pet rock, right? But it's all about the marketing and the branding that comes behind that. So no one's going to know that you have a great product without having a really strong brand. So
or no one they won't come back either.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like all of the people who are ripping me off right now on Amazon, they don't have a strong brand, but they honestly don't need one, because they're just on Amazon. But it's like, oh, Jason, that's an amazing feeder. Where did you get it? And you would just say Amazon. You wouldn't say Moss and Fawn.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've really worked on, and it worked, right? Like Nordstrom reached out to me and they were like, we love your product, but it's mainly because of my brand. Because at the time that Nordstrom reached out, I already had like probably 100 different knockoffs out there.
Do you think the buyer was targeted by an ad and that's how they found you?
I don't know how
it happens a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it worked with Shark Tank.
Yeah, they're customers. And then,
With when Shark Tank reached out to me, it was the executive or the casting producer for Shark Tank was like, hey, we're so interested in your brand. Would you like to be on the show? And I was like, is this scam? Like,
I felt like it was a scam too when we got hit up. Yeah.
I was like, there's no way that they would reach out to me, because there's, they get 50,000 applicants a year. Why are they scouting? So I wrote her and I was like, yeah, of course I'm interested, but how did you hear about me? And she's like, I'm pregnant. And I saw one of your ads on Instagram.
That's funny. A lot of the decision makers are our customers. That but a good brand lured in at the end of the day, right? Yeah. Back to the brand. Okay, so big field note, brand. And the value of it. Okay, what else?
Being able to be told no like a lot and continuing. I think that's something that I have that I don't see in a lot of other people. Like, it's really hard.
Yeah.
For me to take no for an answer.
Me too. I hear you. Yeah.
In like so many ways. I'm a total like fighter, and I'll find a solution to something. I do not give up easily. I know that there's always something. Not something else that got like drilled into me as a kid. My mom always said, if there's like if there's no problem, there's no solution. If there's no solution, there's no problem. And so it was like, that's so true. Like, I have to find a solution. And there has always been one, right? Like, have you ever had to like just give up on something? It's like, no, there's always a way to get it done. Yeah. I
feel like if you do give up, it comes back eventually, and you have to work on it again anyway. Yeah. What else? I feel like another big one that you mentioned is, as a founder and an entrepreneur, you always have to be working on yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's important. Like, I go to therapy every 2 weeks still.
Yeah.
And I feel like I walk out of those sessions with something of value. And it might be home stuff or work stuff or whatever, or just personality stuff or how I deal with specific emotions. But it's really good that you're like looking inward and focusing on leadership as a person. Like, that's a huge, something that a lot of leaders forget.
And
I've
I'd never been in a leadership position in my life. Like I never had a job where I was a leader. Even in school, I was never like the leader of a lab or anything. I was just always a follower. And so I never learned how to do that. And so that's something that I come to light now. But yeah, I go to therapy too. And I love therapy. It's so nice to have someone, because you have friends and family, but they don't understand what you're going through and how to help you. They're always just going to be so nice and be like, oh, you're doing a great job. Or like, yeah, but I want to do better.
Toxic positivity.
Yeah. Totally.
Everything's great.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean?
Fine. It's like, well, but it's hard right now.
You're so successful. Look at how far you've come. And it's like,
things are hard still.
They're so hard. And I feel like I really struggle with managing business and personal life. Like I'm just so consumed by my business that it's been really hard for me to separate those two. And so
that's different. Yeah, I hear you there.
Yeah. So it's nice to have my therapist or our therapist.
Oh, yeah. Well, the value is that you walk away with like each session, for example, you walk through you walk away with some kind of tool or something to focus on, like whether it's, I'm trying to think like compartmentalization is one thing that I had to work on where it's like, especially like negotiating and stuff. Like I just had to go through that big negotiation and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like in doing that, it was a lot of the stuff I was working on was compartmentalization and reminding myself, like, when should I keep my mouth shut or when should I not let something affect me in a specific moment and save it for later or whatever.
Yeah.
And, but that like one tool was the thing to focus on.
For me right now, one of the things I'm working on in therapy is trust, right? So like you mentioned earlier, why don't you hire an ops person? It's like, what was my answer? It's like, clearly I'm not trusting of spending the time, hiring someone, bringing them on, and then trusting that they're going to do what I'm doing and better, or, like I just don't trust right now. Yeah. And so that's something that I'm working on. And it's so great because I can carry that into my personal life, right? Like working on trusting with relationships and with my business. And so I think therapy is so good. And especially when you're having to be exposed to so many different things with your business, that it's really nice to help organizing those thoughts and processes.
Yeah, trusting in leadership is so difficult.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I've learned is, the management style that I've seen from people that doesn't work is when they have to like keep their hands on stuff versus me. I would rather pass a task to someone and and not worry about it. And then if a fire comes up, step in to help and put it out versus worrying about a fire. And I've learned that empowers them to figure it out. Right. And also over time, it takes so much stress off of you. Because then when you realize like, okay, even if they're doing it 75 or 90% of the way you want it to be done, that is saving you how many hours a week? Yeah. Or saving you,
Yeah, and I've experienced that. Like I hired a bookkeeper a few months ago that was awful, like so bad. So that just like stressed me out so bad. And I was like, I don't even know how to find someone else. Like I already I realized I needed a bookkeeper. I went and found somebody. They failed so bad. And then luckily I got this guy referred to me just recently, but like you just said, the stress that is relieved having him and just trusting that I can actually trust him because I've seen how great he is at managing my books. Amazing. It is so worth it in the end.
Yeah.
But that is something I'm working on alongside with the leadership thing, and communicating is a big one. Everyone has different communication styles. And so it's really good to learn about what yours is and learn about other people's and use it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Those are 3 notes. Great notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking inward.
Yes. And it's just another great thing to work on. Like I love growing and learning about myself. And
it keeps it exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Good story. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Where do people find you? You can plug it. We'll plug it in the links.
Just mossandfawn.com, Moss and Fawn Instagram.
Yeah. You're not on TikTok yet?
I am, yeah.
How's TikTok?
It's just another thing to learn about.
It's a grind, right?
Yeah.
You have to do daily posts.
I don't. So I should.
That's the thing. It's like so hard to do that.
Yeah.
Well, That's great. Thanks for coming. So it's great having Sofia on. Another good conversation with a friend to hear about the growth and a lot of the things that she's learned, but also continuing to work on as an entrepreneur, which is very important. Okay, so the number one thing that I thought was super valuable, especially for new entrepreneurs trying to figure out what they're going to come out with or what they're going to found, is Sofia was always very solution focused. So she would look for problems and focus on ways and solutions to solve those problems. And that led her to the idea of the Forage Feeder and then her other products within the Moss and Fawn product line. The other field note that I thought was super valuable, which I actually used myself, is to actually write a business plan. This day and age, it doesn't seem like something people would normally do or focus on. But she's proof that getting your thoughts down on paper and organized help you approach building a business in the right way. And even if you don't stick to the plan or stick to, what you wrote down at the very beginning, it's worth just gathering everything in one place so you can just get it down on paper and make sure you're not missing anything. And some of those templates help you do that, which can just help get the ball rolling in an organized fashion. The other thing that I thought was super valuable, which I'm also a believer in with the brands that I've created, is the value of the brand itself and how you present yourself. And it's not just a logo that you throw on a product. If you have a good quality product, the brand and how that company presents themselves to the public or in their social media, their website, and their whole experience is incredibly valuable. And it's not just valuable bringing a new customer to you, but it's super valuable in keeping the customers with you along the way. The other field note that I personally also see of extreme value is constantly working on yourself. For example, I go to a therapist, she goes to the same therapist. We work on ourselves and find ways to improve how we handle situations, how we deal with our emotions. This could also include reading self-help books and stuff like that, but also just talking to other founders and entrepreneurs and people in business and learning from them about how you can be better and getting the feedback so you can also improve. I thought that was great. And especially now that she's starting to move her business into the next steps, getting a new office, a warehouse, she's bringing on more and more employees. She's realizing that a lot of these things are of extreme value, and she's constantly looking inward and working on those things. And that right there is how you progress as a founder and grow from just a single person business to a massive team and extreme growth. Like, you have to look inward and focus on those things to get the success that you want. So that's it for episode 2 with Sofia. Thanks for watching. Follow us on all the social media platforms and stay in touch for our next episode.